a bag of stones. Both items are symbols of death. Oh, in particular of. Oh.
The rain against her skin while she faces every sin on the
This is really
stars.
cool. That the guilt of it all, like I think I don't know about other people, but like I definitely almost feel as though it's my obligation to live for them as opposed to feeling guilty that I'm hearing that they're not. That actually like you make things count. What's going on people dems, and welcome to my channel. This is the first time that you're coming here. And this is Room 2703, a place for me to react to all the things that you send me, all the amazing artists that get put before me, and to give my opinion on what it is that I've seen. So this reaction is an AURORA reaction. So you may have seen recently that I've been looking at trying to figure out some kind of like scheduling, because I react to a lot of different things on this channel, from music to anime to TV series to movies. And then within all those things, there's different artists within that. So people come to my channel for different reasons. And I'm trying to make it a little bit easier so people know exactly what's coming when, reduce the disappointment that's coming, and to make it a little bit less crazy for me, because honestly, because it's just me. It's just me. So it can take such a long time to put a video together, and I really want to make sure that that this continues to be not only an amazing space for me to kind of just delve into these things and to share that with everybody, and to get your opinions and everything, but to also make sure that it's something that can continue to be viable for me. So I want to build, I want to grow, and that kind of stuff. So hopefully that will help. So this week was meant to be, according to my plan, was meant to be an Aurora week. So I'm doing like artist weeks now, as opposed to me just doing like odd songs here and there. I want to take a week and just focus on that artist, and it might be that I just do songs of theirs, it might be that I do albums of theirs, it might be that I do some concerts of theirs, but it's going to be a week that's dedicated to just them. So it is a trial. It's a trial at the moment. So we're going to see how that plan actually goes. This is the first piece of Aurora this week that I'm going to get to look at, and it's Thursday. Thursday. So the plan isn't going all that well, but it's okay, because that's what a plan is for. It's there to kind of aim towards something, and move things and alter things as the plan progresses. So I've always said from the get-go that I like to do things from the beginning. Do you know what I mean? I don't like to just do things, oh, let's look at the 5th album, let's look at the 8th album. I like to like kind of go from the beginning and kind of like immerse myself in all of that, so I can kind of have a better, I think, a more structured opinion on the artist that I'm listening to. And so far there has been so many things that I've seen from Aurora that have just made me go wow. And again, if you're new here and this is the first Aurora reaction that you're seeing, I would encourage you to look at some of my other Aurora reactions, because I love that girl. I love her. And I always say that, like, from my musical like background, Aurora probably wasn't someone that would ever have kind of got onto my radar. Soul, reggae, bashment, raga, garage, like house, like there were so many things that I kind of grew up with and then developed my own interest in as I got older. And kind of the alternative-y type of stuff wasn't really, kind of alternatively folksy esky type of stuff wasn't really my bag. And even like looking at, fully judging a book by its cover, even looking at Aurora just from the outside would not have been someone that I think I would have gone, oh yeah, she's a bit of me. And I think I'm trying to think who it was. And I can't remember now, but there was a subscriber of mine who I think was it from it might be from Arcane, I can't remember, but there was a subscriber of mine that was like, right, you need to listen to this artist called Aurora, and I promise you will love her. And I was like, okay, let's check her out. And I think it was Through the Eyes of a Child. It was the first thing that I saw when she was in the Nidrostamen. And I was like, who is that? So like she's had my heart kind of since then, really. And every time I see her, every time I listen to her, I'm just like, wow, wow. The last song I reacted to was her and Pom. Was it Pom? Is that her name? Pom? Pom. Yeah, it's Pom. And I think it's Pom. And they did that awesome duet, like where they're wearing that. She was in that amazing dress, and oh my god, it was just so sick. So anyway, from then I said, right, okay, I really want to get into a bit more of her. So that's what we're about to do, people. So let's waste no time and let's dive straight in. So the first album that I found was it's quite a long title. All My Demons Greeting Me as a Friend. Okay, so I'm gonna do this by date order. So the first thing here is her single Awakening. And that was in 2014. See, this is what makes sense to just check a bit first. So Awakening in 2014. Then we've got Under Stars again in 2014. And then we've got Running with the Wolves in 2015. That's 4 songs. So you've got Runaway, Running with Wolves, In Boxes, Little Boy in the Grass. So Runaway I've obviously heard. Running with Wolves, I think I have heard that one as well. In Boxes, I don't think I've heard that one. And Little Boy in the Grass, I think I have heard that one too. So then after doing Running with the Wolves, made a song 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Love that song as well. So some of these I actually have heard them. That's the order that we'll do them in. I think that makes sense because I want to keep them in kind of like date order, chronological order. Okay then. Spotify can't play this. Okay, let's do this.
With a tiny rope and a bag of stones and all her broken wishing bones, she's going in, she's going home. Oh, this little golden knight, fighting every day behind the light, behind the light. Walking faster down the street, red eyes and no shoes on her feet, going on this journey, determined to complete. This is farewell, this is goodnight, the last time she will see the daylight, see the daylight. And she's going on a journey, always walking down the road, and the water is always calling, my little child, please come home. That's when she went away from the light of day. Standing climb towards the sky, towards the sky.
Do you know what? Like, I was kind of getting ready to be like, oh, I'm not gonna like this tune. I feel like this is something common that happens on a lot of Aurora tunes. When I start them, being like, oh, this is gonna be the one that I don't like. Oh, this is gonna be the one that I don't like. But actually, I liked that. I think it was kind of like a really just very light. I mean, Aurora tunes are quite light, I guess, in their sound, or they can be at least anyway, in terms of how she sings. But the actual beat of like when the beat kicked in and stuff, and it was like, okay, there's a little bit more oomph in this tune. Like it wasn't one that made me go, wow, again, I need to get this into my playlist like straight away. But you know what it did remind me of? It reminded me of, you know, when like you see these like these these TikToks, yeah, where you've got people that are doing like their main character their main character things. It's like, yeah, I'm going on a journey, just like, you know, I've got my cup of coffee, like I'm just staring at the window and I'm just, you know, put my hair behind my ear and, you know, going on a journey. Do you know what I mean? It's that kind of like song in the background. But I do want to find out exactly what the song was about. Like as I said, it's a nice song. Not one that I think is like oh my god, amazing, amazing, amazing. But good enough for me for a first track. I'm trying to think if that track would have got me to listen to more of her. I don't know. I don't know. Like there were definitely parts of her voice that are coming out of that. But I think that the type of song it um, is perhaps a little bit too generic-y for me to really sink my teeth into something to go, yo. Do you know what I mean? Like it's like I said, it's the kind of thing I could hear as like background music on like a show or something, but it's not necessarily like how some of the other songs, like I say, Through the Eyes of a Child grabbed me straight away, like by the neck, the ears, like yo. And whereas this one didn't necessarily do that, but it was still nice enough. Do you know what I mean? So just on a listen, I've been giving a lot of 6.5s lately, but I probably would give that a 6.5. Like there's nothing bad about it whatsoever, but it's probably a little bit too down the middle for me to really feel one way or the other about it. But you know, maybe that'll change when I know what it's about. So okay. So, verse 1, with a tiny rope and a bag of stones and all her broken wishing bones, she's going in, she's going home, oh this little golden night, fighting every day, behind the light, behind the light. So, with a tiny rope and a bag of stones, tiny rope, a bag of stones, both items are symbols of death. Oh, in particular of... Oh. This idea of death by water continued throughout the remainder of the song. The rope, see, this is why I didn't have the lyrics in front of me, so there's some of the lyrics I wasn't really grabbing. So a lot of my comments will just be about the sound of the song. The rope in the context of a noose and the bag of stones allude to Virginia Woolf's drowning herself in a river, pockets laden with stones. I feel like I should know who Virginia Woolf is. That name, does that ring a bell? English modernist writer, a pioneer of modernist literature and a feminist icon. Okay, this is probably why I've heard of her then, because she's an icon. That would make sense. Learn about her life, works, family influences, and legacy. She unalived herself in its cruel misinterpretation in the media. On March 28th, 1941, shortly after the devastating dawn of World War. You thought I could use a poem today? Okay. The rain falls and falls, cool, bottomless, and prehistoric. Falls like light. Not an ablution, not a baptism, just a small reason to remember all we know of heaven, to remember we are still here. Ah. Spell against indifference. What a great day to get that as well, bearing in mind we're having like local elections today. Yeah, on March 28th, the day after my birthday, and 1941, shortly after the devastating dawn of World War Two, Virginia Woolf, January 25th, 1882 to March 28th, 1941, filled her overcoat pockets with rocks and walked into the River Ouse behind her house, never to emerge alive. I mean, I just can't even imagine, like, as a way to go, like, because that isn't going to be immediate. You would need to go down a certain point, like, oh, God, I can't even imagine that. Um, A relapse of the all-consuming depression she had narrowly escaped in her youth had finally claimed her life. She left behind a remarkable body of work, from her poignant diary to her magnificent essays, to her little-known children books, to the longest and most charming love letter in literature, and a cohort of heartbroken friends. But the most stirring thing that she left behind was her letter to her husband Leonard. She said, "Dearest, I feel certain that I'm going ahead again. I feel, do you know what? This is probably what it feels like when people say they can't read my handwriting. Oh, okay, thank goodness for that because, ooh, dearest, I feel certain I'm going mad again. I feel we can't go through another of those terrible times and I shan't recover this time. I begin to hear voices and I can't concentrate, so I'm doing what seems the best thing to do. You've given me the greatest possible happiness. You've been in every way all that anyone could be. I don't think two people could have been happier till this terrible disease came. I can't fight any longer. I know that I am spoiling your life, that without me you could work, and you will, I know. You see, I can't even write this properly. I can't read. What I want to say is, I owe all the happiness of my life to you. You have been entirely patient with me and incredibly good. I want to say that everybody knows it. If anybody could have saved me, it would have been you. Everything has gone from me, but the certainty of your goodness, I can't go on spoiling your life any longer. I don't think two people could have been happier than we have been. Oh my gosh. What made the letter especially heartbreaking, however, wasn't just that it embodied so excruciatingly modernity's tragic epidemic, but also that its fate reflected the ugliest aspects of media and journalism. In afterwards letters of the death of Virginia Woolf, scholar Sybil Oldfield notes that after Woolf's letter was made public, members of the British public took it upon themselves to bestow upon the beloved author a last judgment, a painfully ungenerous one. On April 27th, a month after Walter's death, the Sunday Times ran the following self-righteous evisceration by a Mrs. Kathleen Hicks, wife of Bishop of Lincoln. Sir, I read in your issue of Sunday last that the coroner at the inquest on Miss Virginia Woolf said that she was undoubtedly much more sensitive than most people to the general beastliness of things happening in the world today. What right has anyone to make such an assertion? If he really said this, he belittles those who are hiding their agony of mind, suffering bravely and carrying on unselfishly for the sake of others. Many people, possibly even more sensitive, have lost their all and seen appalling happenings, yet they take their part nobly in this fight for God against the devil. Where are our ideals of love and faith? And what shall we all be if we listen to and sympathise with this sort of I cannot carry on? Wow. Mrs. Hicks' ideals of love and faith apparently did not include empathy. Upon reading this, Leonard Woolf was so appalled that he immediately sent to the newspaper an emotionally charged fact-check rebuttal. I feel that I should not silently allow to remain on record that Virginia Woolf committed because she could not face the terrible times through which all of us are going. For this is not true. Then newspapers give her words as, I feel I cannot go on any longer in these terrible times. This is not what she wrote. The words which she wrote are, I feel that I'm going mad again. I feel we can't go through another of those terrible times. She had a mental breakdown about 25 years ago. The old symptoms began to return about 3 weeks before she and she felt that this time she would not recover. Like everyone else, she felt the general strain of the war, and the return of her illness was partly due to that strain. But the words of her letter and everything with which she has ever said prove that she took, not because she could not carry on, but because she felt she was going mad again and would not this time recover. But devastatingly, even Leonard's rebuttal too was twisted out of context. Published under the already misleading headline, "I Cannot Carry On," the then version of clickbait, the article replaced the phrase "those terrible times," Virginia's reference to her first acute bout of depression in her youth, with "these terrible times," changing the meaning completely and making it a reference to World War II, an interpretation that aligned quite conveniently with the media's spin of Woolf's as an act of unpatriotic cowardice rather than a personal tragedy. To make matters even more lamentable, the Times reprinted the misquotation several days later. The then version of reblogging or retweeting without critical analysis and fact-checking, similar attacks, some of which were even unleashed on Woolf's posthumously published work, continued in the press for more than a year. I'm about to finish reading. The incident is particularly unsettling for two reasons, as its root is a testament to what a cruel and indiscriminate predator depression is, capable of consuming even humanity's greatest minds, yet the uncompassionate response illustrates just how poorly we understand the condition. Above all, however, embedded in the media's treatment of Virginia's is a grotesque reminder that the only thing more morally repugnant than passing judgment on another human being's private struggle and inner world, than choosing self-righteousness over compassionate understanding, is doing so publicly, especially as a currency of tabloidism. What a spectacular failing of the awareness that it's far more rewarding to understand than to be right. One can only hope this awareness has evolved for us, both as a culture and as individuals, since Woolf's time. Afterwards is a moving read in its entirety. Sample it with these letters of condolence from some of Woolf's famous friends, including T.S. Eliot, Edith Stilwell, Ian Foster, Elizabeth Bowen, and H.G. Wells. Then see Patti Smith's moving remembrance of Virginia. So I knew the name Virginia Woolf rang a bell, and wasn't quite sure as to why. That's the reason why, because she is a great literary person. And from the first line of this already, like, it's taken me down a rabbit hole. So I think this is the beauty of, like, understanding people's art and, like, not just taking it, like, on face value, because ultimately, like I said, my initial response to it was, it's not giving, like, I don't know, it's not giving anything that's, like, just that is out there necessarily. But that's because I didn't pick up on any of the words that were being sang in the song. So again, with a tiny rope and a bag of stones. So these are items that refer to the rope in the context of Earth, and the bag of stones allude to Virginia Woolf's drowning herself in a river, pockets laden with stones. Like, I wasn't even aware of that. And that's the opening line of this song. Right, okay. And all her broken wishing bones. So wishing bones are like the ones that you get, like, through, like, turkeys or stuff, right? And then you break the bone and you make a wish, alright? Wish bones are a bone found in chickens that are commonly broken and wished upon. The fact that Aurora describes herself having many indicates that she has been wishing for something that has not come to fruition. This gives the song a tone of hopelessness and desperation. Aurora has cited the Norwegian artist Anne Brun as an inspiration of hers, stating in an interview that Brun's album A Temporary Dive was a big part of her life. Aurora is like referencing the title track of the album here. Brun also uses the imagery of broken wishbones. Okay. So a quick look at who Anne Brun is. Oh, wasn't she part of her concert when they treated Aurora for the day? And Anne Brun was one of the people that she like performed for her and stuff, and they duetted and stuff, didn't they? I recognise her face. I'm sure it was her. I could be wrong though, and I'm sure someone will correct me in the comments. So I like that idea though of, a tiny rope and a bag of stones. Because in my head, when I heard that, I was thinking like a kid's game. Do you know what I mean? Like marbles, or like a satchel, like an old school satchel, because you got the stick and then the bag, and maybe got like some marbles in there or whatever. My head didn't go to anything this, like, bleak. But then you mix that in with and all her broken wishing bones. They're absolutely, well, I think they're right anyway, in that like that is giving a sense of hopelessness, because like how long have you been wishing for something to have this big bag of broken wish bones, and obviously it hasn't come true. She's going in, she's going home. So again, if this is in relation to Victoria, she's going into the water, she's going home. Aurora introduces the idea of the ocean as home. Continuing on from her early description of the bag of stones she's carrying, Aurora sets the stage for her journey to come to the water and to death. Oh dear. Oh, this little golden knight fighting every day behind the light, behind the light. So this again is giving more context now. I know what those references mean. So, oh, this little golden knight, like, you know, this you got your armor on, like you're going in bright, like, you know, it's gleaming almost. I mean, the sun reflecting off it, like you're going into battle. Usually as well, when you look at these, like, you know, these old school like wars and stuff, like I'm thinking Lord of the Rings now, but you know, the good guys usually have this bright, brilliant kind of like angel-esque armor, um, fighting every day behind the light, behind the light. So that golden and the light are connected there, like you've got this big bright, I guess, demeanor, but you're fighting every day behind that. These lines explain why she's making her journey and attempting to escape. Each day is a struggle. Though a warrior, fighting every day can become too much. Yeah, of course. Um, okay, verse 2. Walking faster down the street. So this is a complete like picture change now. So walking faster down the street. She's almost running, motivated by a desire to escape. Okay. Okay. Red eyes and no shoes on her feet. So red eyes from crying, no shoes on her feet. Going on this journey, determined to complete. This is farewell. This is good night. The last time she will see the daylight. See the daylight. And I just can't get over just how like how flippant I was about this song initially. Like, and like this is so dark. Walking faster down the street, red eyes and like, eyes streaming probably, and no shoes on her feet. Like, you know, I know there's probably some cultures out there that don't really wear shoes, and that's cool. But that, you know, if I see someone walking down the road with no shoes on their foot bottom and their eyes are already streaming and stuff, like something's gonna probably trigger in my head that something is not quite right there, because where are your shoes? And going on this journey, determined to complete, which is crazy because there is only one end to the kind of journey that they're talking about. This is farewell. This is good night. The last time we will see the daylight, see the daylight. She's either been crying or is really, really tired. No shoes implies that she's left in a hurry and without thought to the future. Her departure was impulsive, not thought through. Yeah. Yeah, that does make sense. Chorus. And she's going on a journey, always walking down the road, and the water is always calling, my little child, please come home. It is ultimately a connection to nature, the water, that awakens Aurora. She sees the water as a bringer of life, like her mother. Yet, as we know, and as the song makes clear, water can also take that away. Like many of her songs, Winterbird, Looking Under the Stars, to name a few, her relationship with nature, with the natural world, keeps her grounded and reminds her of the light when the world seems dark. I mean, I guess it is an interesting perspective, isn't it? Because ultimately, like, something as big and as I mean, I've always thought this about water anyway, which is probably why I'm not a big swimmer. I can't swim to save a lick, because as much as there is so much life that comes from water, like, you know, from drinking it, from the oxygen that's within it, and all the different creatures that swim within it and whatever, there is also a devastating side to the sea. Like, and there's also a very dark part of it where, like, there's elements like I forget the percentage, but there's a proportion of the world's oceans that we still don't have a clue about. So yes, I get the connection to like mother and nature and stuff, but there is also the sense of while she's coming home, do you know what I mean, like, or giving life, there is a sense of kind of like taking that away as well. So that does make sense. That's when she went away from the light of day. Standing by the riverside, patiently waiting for the tide to come along, to come along. The water's going to her feet and on her body. Wind so cold and sweet, so cold and sweet. So to me, that's kind of describing this journey that she's going on, and the physical element of being within the water. T.S. Eliot wrote that we should fear death by water, yet this is clearly not the case here. Aurora waits, anticipating the tide's approach and waiting for it to take her over. Like, this is so dark, man. From such a light song, like I cannot believe that this is the subject matter of the song. Like, and she's going on a journey, always walking down the road, and the water is always calling, "My little child, please come home." And the stars were brightly shining. When she reached out, they were gone. And the water started calling, "My little child, please come home." And I imagine that's because, you know, it would have been, I guess, nighttime. The stars are out there, and I'm guessing she then couldn't see them anymore. Compared with the other song, "Under Stars," give yourself the harmony underneath the stars. I guess I haven't come to that yet. So, when she reached out, they were gone. That's a metaphor for hopelessness. The stars are always just beyond the reach. Oh my gosh, I didn't even think like that. But yeah, I mean, it's a great image for that, I suppose. I was thinking more literally that, like, once you're overcome by the water, that if the stars are there, you wouldn't be able to see them anymore. But that's even more poignant, really, and I guess quite hopeless. Feel the water in her body. Water's never going out. Feel the water in her body. Water's never going out. Feel the water in her body. Water's never going out. We humans are 60% water, and because of this, we have an inherent connection to nature, the sea, and the rain. That is true about the rain, you know. I've got a friend of mine who's very, very big about standing out in the rain, and I've never really understood that. And even though I know how much water makes up our body, it's only now that I'm like, that is a good point about not just being in water, but maybe having water fall upon you as well. Okay, fair enough. The water is inescapable, and because of this, we are all connected to each other and to our planet. Additionally, from the moment you drown, your body remains submerged until it decomposes. Oh gosh. It is not the light note I expected to start today's proceedings upon. I will say this. And you know, I just cannot imagine this as a means, like as an option. Like, I can't imagine how desperate, like, someone must be, or how rushed and impulsive someone must be, like, for this to be the route in which that they did that. Like, I can't, like, every urge in you surely would have had the impulse, like the reaction of wanting to get out of that situation. So unless, like, I'm just trying to think as to what kind of boulders were in her pocket, because oh my gosh, this is awful. And she's going on a journey. Water's never going out. Always walking down the road. Water's never going out. And the water is always calling. Water's never going out. My little child, please come home. Water's never going out. That's the same connection there. And the stars are brightly shining. Water's never going out. When she reached out, they were gone. I'm guessing that. Perhaps a comment on the polarity between hope and despair. On the one hand, the stars are bright and close, a metaphor for success and happiness, yet in the attempt to reach them, it seems that the hope was in vain. Oh gosh. And the water's calling out, all the connection to the water. Outro. When the shining light hit her eye, she's no longer behind the light, but in front of it, and looking into it, she suddenly sees hope. It's ironic that it took death, or at the very least a near-death experience, for her to see the light. When the shiny light hit her eye, and she turned around and climbed towards the sky. So is that her then going through, do you know what I mean? Like, going through that astral plane. The song ends with her death, as she willfully abandons her life in favour of going home to the water which calls for her. Compare her unreleased song, All My Demons, which deals with similar ideas, someone who struggles through life, turning around and finding peace through death. Climbing towards the sky is a metaphor for death that Aurora has used before in the song Little Boy in the Grass. say before. This is the first thing that came out that was released, unless the release dates aren't the same on Spotify. I don't know, but I kind of feel like I need to listen to the song again, to be honest, because like and this is why lyrics are so important. But as I said in my reaction to Dolce, a completely different artist, I was saying that like back in the day, like you didn't used to have the lyric book and stuff, so you can only really go by what it was that you heard, and it's not everything that I always pick up, you know. And again, like for how the song is delivered and the tempo of the song and everything, I would never have got that from this. I would never have got that from this. So, okay, I need to play it again. Sorry.
With a tiny rope and a bag of stones and all heartbroken, wishing bone, she's going in, she's going home. Oh, this little golden knight, fighting every day behind the light, behind the light. Walking faster down the street, red eyes and no shoes on her feet, going on this journey, determined to complete. This is farewell, this is goodnight, the last time she will see the daylight, see the daylight. And she's going on a journey, always walking down the road, and the water is always calling, my little child, please come home. That's when she went away, away from the light of day. Standing by the riverside, patiently waiting for the tide to come along, to come along. The water's going to her feet, and on her body wind so cold and sweet, so cold and sweet. And she's going on a journey, always walking down the road, and the water is always calling, my little child, please come home. And the stars were brightly shining, when she reached out they were gone, and the water started calling, my little child, please come home. Feel the water in her body, water's never going out. Feel the water in her body, water's never going out. Feel the water in her body, water's never going out. Feel the water in her body, water's never going out. Feel the water in her body, water's never going out. Feel the water in her body, water's never going out. Feel the water in her body, water's never going out. Feel the water in her body, water's never going out. And she's going on a journey, always walking down the road, and the water is always calling, my little child, please come home. And the stars were brightly shining, when she reached out they were gone, and the water started calling, my little child, please come home. When the shining light hit her eye, and she turned around and climbed towards the sky, towards the sky.
Do you know, I feel like understanding the song has bumped that up for me by a good at least 7. Do you know what I mean? Like by a good 7.5. Like not 7.5 points, like 2 or 7.5. Because I feel like again the song is it's not necessarily, as I say, the song that would make me go, I immediately want to put that into my playlist. And to be honest, I think like knowing the subject matter as well, it's it would make me feel sad, I think. Like, but I think in terms of a artistic project of putting that together, like in terms of the tempo, because you do have that polarity of the light and the dark within it, I suppose. Now I've got that kind of, now I've got a firm understanding like of what the references are, and like and all the different elements to the journey that this person's been on. Like it's almost like the song itself is like a duality of those two different things, because again I still think the song sounds quite like frivolous but kind of throwaway, light-hearted, and da, 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 da. And da, 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 da. Do you know what I mean? Like it's like even listening to that making me smile as I'm hearing that. Like, but then the subject matter is actually like, with all that light and all that frivolity, like is something really dark, really incredibly dark, um, which in itself I think is an amazing thing to have been able to create. So I didn't expect to be still talking about this song like 52 minutes later, but wow. Wow. And this is like some of her earliest work. So imagine that this is like, this is how you're coming off at the gate. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, I'm not about these frivolous songs that are just frivolous for like, you know, commercial sake. You know, and I imagine that there'll be people that really, you know, depression and stuff is a real, like I've had people that I've known that have suffered with that and stuff, and it's, you know, for someone that's never suffered it myself, it's really difficult to kind of know how to truly support and how to really help. But you know, I think music can be such an amazing like and helpful like gateway for so many things. Do you know what I mean? And you know, who's to say that like a song like this isn't cathartic for some people in some kind of way? But you know, I just hope that like, I just hope that the light that hits someone's eye is way before, way before like it ever gets to the point that someone's like, you know, too deep in that situation. So okay, wow, I was not expecting. But you know what? Like, there is no like, I wear this every single day, like every single day since my patron, or my then patron, Miss Diane, got this sent to me, because mental health is important. Do you know what I mean? And I think it's everyone's kind of like responsibility to a degree, like to, you know, shine a light, speak about it, let people know it's okay to talk about it. And if there's music that can kind of like, you know, like bring attention to someone whose fight they lost, you know, and can find an artistic way to open conversations like that, you know, then, you know, more power to Aurora. Like, do you know what I mean? So, you know, it shouldn't be something that we shy away from. Like, this is something that affects people all the time. So yeah, powerful stuff, man. Like, powerful stuff. So yeah, I would put that as a 7.5 as a song overall. Like, very clever message, and interwoven really well. Sound wise, for me, I still don't think it's something I would choose to put on like on a regular basis or anything like that, but I think how it's been crafted, I think is pretty awesome. Okay, so the next song on here, which I'm hoping it doesn't take me 50 minutes to go through, is Under Stars. So they made reference to Under Stars in those genius lyrics. There's 18 here. I actually wrote the song as well. Did she write it? Produced by two other people, but writers. So she co-wrote this song then. So Odd Martin and Aurora wrote the song, produced by Odd Martin and Magnus Skystad. Aurora played the piano on this though. Very interesting. This time I'm gonna have the lyrics up as I'm going through. So let me get them ready.
Mad world, big
love that. I loved that. Loved that. Oh my gosh! And I'm saying that, and hopefully it's not a song about like, I don't know, like losing fingers and or something. You know what I mean? Something that's not ideal, man. But it sounded like so. Again, when it comes to Aurora, like her sound is just so ethereal. Like it's so like otherworldly where those harmonies take you, and how she pronounces her words and stuff. Which is why sometimes like I don't always pick up on all the wording because I'm feeling the music almost. It when I was listening to that, like all I could imagine was like, bearing in mind it was talking about stars, so stars are only visible when the sky is dark. But like when that chorus hit, it was almost like a pouring out from the clouds, like, and I was just in this like brilliance of light, like, and just getting washed over, which is what those vocals do. And to be honest, I was like, make sure you pay attention to what she's saying this time. But I did hear something like taking your heart along with you, or dragging it along with you, or something. And there was a bit with the bridge that was something like I can't even remember now. Well, the lyrics are here, so I don't gas to remember. So let's remind ourselves. So, of the song, Aurora says it's about us, about the people we've lost through time, and how we handle that loss, the guilt of still being alive when they are not, and the hope that they might only be sleeping. Oh, that was the thing. It was about Yvonne's closing your eyes. Yvonne's closing your eyes. That was the line, and I was like, Yvonne's closing your eyes. I mean, even that is a really powerful message, isn't it? Like, just read the rest of that. Maybe still dreaming under the stars. Again, did she write this? So this was written by Aurora and Dan McDougall. For me, I mean, just from sound alone, for me, I'll give that like a really strong 8. Like a really strong 8. Like the pacing of the song, like all those different harmonies, and just how it left me feeling like a straight 8. Now I'm getting a gist of what the song could have been about. Like it's making it even more wholesome, because like that kind of feeling that I was talking about, like just being like almost washed over, like that could in essence be like the I don't know, the soul, the glow, the presence of people that have gone before us and stuff, and like just feeling that. But I suppose what she's talking there about the like how you deal with the loss, and also the guilt of that, of still being here when they're not. I don't know about other people, like, just before I get into the lyrics of this, but like, I have, as I'm sure that many of us who are watching this, unfortunately have lost people, people that maybe you weren't so close to, people that you were very close to, and I think for me, and I know that for a lot of people in my family and stuff, the way that, even though that we've all kind of been like brought up in the church and stuff, like we're not necessarily like active practicing Christians, that we go to church every Sunday and or go to like we don't necessarily visit church every week or anything like that. So I always say that I'm not necessarily religious, but I am a very spiritual person that believes in things outside of me and this, and this husk of human that's in front of you. And I think for me, when it comes to people that have passed, like I always, like, as much as their physical form is gone, like I still feel them. Like, my sister's picture is like literally right here, like, and there'll just be modes of me being so in tune with Fiona, my sister, that like it doesn't even feel like she's not here. Like the way we speak about like my nan and stuff, like who was like my second mum, like we speak about her, speak about these people, like they are here. Do you know what I mean? Like, so, and then feeling that it's a really hard thing to explain, really, but that the guilt of it all, like I think, I don't know about other people, but like I definitely almost feel as though it's my obligation to live, like for them, if that makes sense. It's my obligation to kind of live for them, as opposed to feeling guilty that I'm here and that they're not. that actually like, you know, you make things count. You don't like, one thing that I've definitely, that this definitely happened a lot more since Fiona, is when I was younger I used to be a lot more like a lot more willing just to cut people off. If you've upset me or you've done something that I'm like is not in accordance with me, my values, see ya. Whereas now I'm a lot more patient and a lot more willing to find the good, because like that there is a doorway that's permanently closed. Do you know what I mean? Like, but whilst we're still here and we're still able to, you know, to still be walking the same plane together, like there is always an option for us to find the good, and that's something that like I've definitely learned since having that kind of loss, I think. So yeah, it's interesting to kind of see how people, and this is why, like, as much as you know I might be deep in this, but this is exactly the reason why like I love exploring, whether it's shows, whether it's music, because all these different things, like, they're all brought together like from people that have had experiences, and then lead us to talking points about our own experiences and other people's experiences, and things that we can all relate to, or if we can't relate to, that we can learn from. So you know, I'm 2 songs in and I'm already just like, oh my gosh, Aurora. like okay, so verse 1: Mad world beats outside our hearts. Times of need we are apart. Under stars we are alone. So, times of need we are apart. The times of need may refer to the period of grieving after the loss of a loved one, while being apart comments on how this loss can lead to a sense of loneliness. But I think that's natural. Like, you know, this enlightened, like, um, you know, mentality that I have now is definitely not something that was adopted like pretty much straight away. Like, for a long time, for a very, 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 very long time. But like, I'm so grateful to have got to the place that I'm at with, like, you know, still get your days when you're sad, because like you never get over a loss like that. But what you do find is a new normal, and a realignment of your perspective. So I can understand times of need we are apart, like that initial feeling, like, wow, like, you know, it's an almost like unfathomable like period of time, because you don't ever feel like you're ever going to be the same again, and in some instances you really aren't the same. um Chorus: Under stars, though we may be physically alone, we are connected by a common sky and a shared history. Aurora references both the ever presence of the natural world and its power to connect us all, and the idea that those who have left us never leave us, but are up in the stars watching us, which is exactly like I was saying. Do you know what I mean? Simba, remember who you are. Like, you know, as much as that might be a cheesy Disney line, it is true. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, I literally, like, I've been in interviews, yeah, and quoted like my nanny and like what she used to say to me and stuff, and be like, ah, you know, these are some life lessons just for life. You know, here's one for free. Manners will carry you around the world. Yeah, and I've always been told that, like, you know, Luke, you're a really polite person. Da, 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 da. Like, and you know, some people don't like the whole nice thing, but I tell you something, like, I have definitely seen the impact of what having manners, conversely to not having manners, can do. And Nanny was right, man. I'll take you around the world. Um, Knuckles move under his skin. He wraps his heart and drags them in, and they move it all around until we cry. Aurora literally describes the action of heart wrenching. She explicitly depicts the clutching of a heart and shaking it around, causing emotional trauma. Knuckles move under his skin. He wraps his heart and drags them in, and they move it all around until we cry. Right, that's what she's talking about. And it's interesting that like her latest album, isn't it called Through the Heart or something? What happened to the heart? Happened to the heart. So there's definitely a synergy from the very beginning for Aurora, in terms of like talking about things that are big things, like, and the heart and our connections to each other and stuff. And I love the fact there is that synergy throughout, even from from her beginning. Um, Under Stars. Yeah, we've done that one already. Okay, verse 3. Mother cries and turns around, walks outside without a sound, the rain against her skin while she faces every sin. Racist. This verse could be perceived as a double meaning. It could explain a mother's status who is at their children's funeral. Oh, okay, yeah, I guess it could, yeah. It's often a traumatic event since their children are often the ones who have to bury their own parents. I'm about to say, they always say that a parent should never have to bury the child. Um, just what I mean, man. Furthermore, the word usage of mother is referring to the Mother Earth, the planet we live on. Aurora Axon's songs Apple Tree and The Seed are notable examples for the use of Mother Earth as a main or side theme. I have not heard Apple Tree, but I have heard The Seed. I do love The Seed. It could both rain on a human skin or on the earth's skin, the soil. Rain is associated with the feeling of loss. People will most likely be buried on the surface of the earth, and Mother Earth will bear the burden of witnessing and feeling the guilt of death. The sins she refers to a human hostility in Machiavellian thought, and she has to witness us prey on each other because we live on earth. Wow. Honestly, I don't know what I did before Genius, because there'd be so many things that maybe like I just didn't get an understanding of, and I'll probably be coming through to you guys like, what does this mean, and and it's so good to have. I mean, this again is a person's perspective, but I mean, it could be it's a very accurate one. I feel like, again, the double meaning. I could be a mum at the funeral, or I could be talking about Mother Earth. Either way, mother cries and turns around, walks outside without a sound. Do you know what I mean? Walks outside without a sound, but like that burden, carrying that burden, that guilt. The rain against her skin while she faces every sin. Like, again, it drips in terms of like the almost not the dramatic nature of it all, but like just how heavy that burden would lie. Um, Okay, under stars. I think that's the same bit. We've done that one already. They have only fallen asleep. So this repetition, because I didn't click this at the time, they've only fallen asleep, almost like trying to convince yourself. Do you know what I mean? And I remember, doing some heavy things. These first two tracks, man, I was not expecting this at all. But that's what I would take from that repetition of that line. These lines mimic what one would say when attempting to explain the notion of death to a child. They're only sleeping. Aurora chants repetitively, seemingly in the attempt to convince herself that those she has lost will return, and that it is all alright. Her childlike perceptions are shattered in the coming lines, however. Okay, they've only fallen asleep. Outro. I've seen it many times. Each time they close their eyes, say goodbye. Rest in peace and give yourself to harmony. Let's see what that. So it's saying I've seen it many times that they actually never wake up. Aurora urges the listeners to allow death to take them over when the time is right. Acquiesce to natural order and accept that your time is now. Embrace the harmony that is the cycle of life and death. And I think that, look, there's never going to be, particularly if it's someone else. I think maybe our own mortality. Well, this is the way that I see it anyway. I don't know about anybody else, but I feel like the mortality of others that I care about, like, is a harder thing to deal with than the mortality of myself. Because ultimately, regardless of what your beliefs are and what happens to us when we are no longer physically here, like, when you're still conscious and aware of the fact that someone isn't here that you loved and cared about, like, you're having to live an existence without that person. Whereas, when it's your own, like, yeah, you don't want that person to suffer with you not being here, but ultimately, like, there are still so many things that that person can live to enjoy. Whereas, like, I guess from your own perspective, as someone that you care about, like, your whole way of life is completely changed. Not, well, I guess it is changed, well, if you're not here, obviously. But do you know what I'm trying to say? Like, it's you. I would rather, if something's gonna happen, like, me kind of accept the fact that, like, it's the natural, like, life cycle, and finally get to that realization and stuff, and be grateful for the life that I've had, and be grateful for the people in it. Whereas trying to do that and be grateful for the time that I had with someone who, like, matters so much to me and stuff, like, I think I would find that more difficult to come to terms with that life cycle balance and all that kind of stuff, I think. um Maybe that's just me, I don't know. And also as well, maybe it's a selfish thing, because ultimately, like, I'm having to live life without you, whereas ultimately, like, if I'm not here, you're having to live life without me. Like, so maybe is that a selfish thing? I don't know. um I've seen it many times. Each time they close their eyes, say goodbye, rest in peace, and give yourself to harmony. Give yourself to harmony underneath the stars. Yeah, it's the same line. I'm honestly, like, a little bit blown away, like, because I enjoyed the song anyway. I thought the song was wildly enjoyable, if I'm honest. Um, but wasn't expecting to. I wasn't expecting the subject matter to be so heavy. Like, if I'm honest. I think what I'm gonna do, because that's taking an hour and 20 minutes for 2 songs, right? And I'm conscious that, like, once I get in, because this is the thing with me, like, I can react to stuff and it's like, yeah, yeah, yeah. But once I start getting into, like, what things mean, like, it just adds more to me. Like, it just adds more to the enjoyment. It adds more to what they were thinking about when they were putting these things together. And I think that's really important. Like, I think that's a really important thing to acknowledge. And the thing is, with all these kind of, like, deep dives and journeys that I'm doing and whatever else, like, the likelihood of me coming back to it to look at it from that kind of perspective again, like, is unlikely. Do you know what I mean? Like, listening to them, yes, like, but, like, it's not every song from an artist that you listen to. So I really want to get as much from it, like, as I'm here doing it, as I can the first time. And that just didn't disappoint. Like I said, these are not things which, these are all things that happen in today's life. Like, I mean, like, in today's world. So, there's nothing that she's discussing in these songs that aren't things that we've all had to deal with at some point, or know someone who has, or may deal with in the future. In some certainty that we all will deal with that last song. So it's interesting just to hear what her stamp on that topic is and has been, and how she made such an amazing song. That's an 8 for me. Like, I think it sounded amazing, and I think, yeah, I think I would still give it an 8. Like, even now and someone it's about, I think I'll still give it an 8. So, that are other songs, but I'm gonna stop it there. Cause we're literally an hour and a half, pretty much. So, I would love to know what you guys made of this. What was your favorite out of these 2 songs? And what kind of things did this, like, bring up for you in terms of, like, what you made of the songs themselves and the subject matter and stuff. As always, I'm very interested to hear. But for now, thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy this, then please do drop me a like and subscribe. That'd be amazing. Thank you so much. And if you do want access to my reactions before they come to YouTube, like full reactions, etc., then please do head over to my Patreon, which is a great way to help support the channel, and it's a great way to connect with me more as well. So you really, really cannot lose. But for now, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you on the next one.